Chrome really showed what type of person he was within this episode of Dr. Stone. He could have acted like a typical character, support character, MC, whatever, that gets jealous that he's not able to be the one to show physical strength to save the one he loves. It's something I have seen a lot from different pieces of literature, and Chrome could have easily have fallen down that path of when Senku, presented, what he said, like, oh, you're not the one to be able to battle and fight for her love and all that. And you saw how he didn't even care. He just started thinking about his promise in the past with her and how he wanted to heal her. And then, he smiled. And he's like, you guys keep doing that, and then I'll go with Senku and we'll learn how to, figure out how to do the medicine. And it was just a really beautiful moment because it showed what type of man he was. He was someone not greedy. He wasn't greedy to where he needed the one he loved to be focused entirely on him. You could see from his overall expression, he reached a level of maturity. He was someone that's like, at the end of the day, what's more important? My love for this girl or her happiness and her being able to live out her days in happiness? And he chose obviously what was right. He chose her happiness and what she would want in her life. And so he's like, I don't need to be there to be the one to save her from Magma. I don't need to physically beat him or whatever. I just want you guys to be able to do it, and I can continue on with the research to make sure she's able to live a long life. And I love his character. That was a really great moment for his character, just to really represent how he's just so different. He is definitely not someone just blinded by small things. He really does what is best for people, but also for humanity in general, since he wants to progress as a scientist. Which, by the way, I do like how he kind of threw away his title as a sorcerer. It's something that many might easily nod off and think it's not relatively that important, but it actually is. It's a very important moment to see Chrome say that he is now a sciencer. Even if it's a little bit weird to hear sciencer and not, let's say, a scientist, it's still incredibly important because his entire life, he's always been showcased or called himself as a sorcerer. When he tried to learn about technology, the world, etc., he called himself a sorcerer. And after learning things from Senku, he now has a better understanding on how the world works, what is out there, what he could actually be capable of if he continues to follow Senku kind of like an apprentice. And that's what's really important here, is that when you think about the overall names of what these are, like a magician to a sorcerer, wizard, and a scientist, like I said already in my previous videos, the term magician, sorcerer, etc., was at one point in time is what people described scientists to this day as. Because, once again, one of the big reasons why people called some individuals sorcerers or magicians or whatever was because it was the product of the unknown. Nobody knew exactly what they were doing or what they were doing. They seemed crazy like they were using magic. And so, obviously, that's where the term kind of comes from. But with him basically saying he's no longer a sorcerer but a scientist or a sciencer, it's basically him saying that he's not doing some petty tricks. He's not doing magic. He's not doing something that is unexplainable and is unknown. He is doing something that could easily be broken down and understood if you took the time to actually learn it. And that's kind of what it is, what science is. It always wants to, disprove and prove things in the world. And so I do love just how Chrome changed his title. It's a very important moment for him to really showcase that, yes, science is not magic. It is something entirely different. Now, besides that, I want to talk about what was happening within this episode that was obviously setting up for some conflict in the future. Maybe not this arc, but an arc later on down the road, and that is Magma. Magma as a character is definitely someone I think is going to be very important, and not going to be someone that's just going to be defeated within this arc and not be important later on. And there's a couple of reasons why, and I've kind of already talked about this in my previous videos, but now that we actually have a character doing it, it seems more and more likely what I talked about is going to happen. So, as we all thought, Gin was not going to become a turncoat. Like, we knew he wasn't going to be someone that was going to throw away Senku. After Senku helped him out and all that, is like, hey, here's electricity, here's how the world can be, you know, obviously, Gin is someone that didn't want to actually give stuff like this up. When you think about his entire character, he was someone that was very superficial. He was an individual that wanted to basically just have things that benefit him. And when you think about the society, obviously, he lived in our modern day era, electricity, microwaves, phones, everything that we deal with is very super convenient. And if you lose that like that, obviously it's gonna be awful. It's gonna be hard to deal with stuff without technology nowadays. Not many people probably can do it. That's just how accustomed we've gotten to electricity, etc. And now that Senku has basically shown that electricity can come back, which means that other modern day era technology can return, obviously, he's not going to leave Senku's side. So that was a no-brainer that was going to happen. But here's the thing, though. As I talked about, even if Gin does not report back to Tsukasa about Senku being alive or dead, and he says that Senku's dead, it does not mean that Tsukasa isn't going to find out. One day, he's going to find out. It's just common sense. I mean, there needs to be conflict in the story, so he will find out one day or another, but the question is when and how. Will they be ready? Will Senku be ready to deal with it when he does find out? And honestly, I don't really know, because when you look at it, Gin obviously saved him, but Tsukasa, now knowing that there is a primitive civilization out there, might be interested to send more scouts or even personally go there to figure out what they have, because as we already know, he's someone that wants to get rid of the tainted people, tainted adults, individuals that are very greedy, want things for themselves. So obviously he might want to investigate the village to see if there's anyone like that he needs to eradicate. But even then, okay, hypothetically, even if, okay, it's not even that, he might want to know if there's anyone that knows science. Was there any intelligent individual that was hiding themselves, that knew too much, that needed to be exterminated, which Chrome perfectly fits in with that description. So when you look at all these little factors, just because Senku is apparently dead doesn't mean that Tsukasa is not going to be interested in a primitive village. And it's not just that either. He'll obviously want to know exactly where they came from, if there's any more, and if he comes to find out that there is more out there, for instance, people that have become exiled, then he would actually probably seek them out to figure out what necessarily happened. But this gets into the main point I was talking about with Magma earlier on this video, because that was like the entire setup for it. Magma obviously he's causing a lot of conflict. And once he is defeated, I'm assuming he's going to get defeated, he's probably going to get exiled. If you look at everything that he demonstrated within this episode, he isn't just a brainless brute. He is someone that's obviously, he's inconsiderate of the ill. He is someone that is just very primitive in terms of thinking. He doesn't care about life. He just wants power. And when you look at like everything that represents his character, he's perfectly being set up to be exiled from the primitive camp. And so if that does happen, what's necessarily going to happen to him? Obviously, he's strong enough to survive in the wilderness. I mean, it's clear as day. I mean, his overall build showcases that. But what I'm saying is that if he does go out in the wild, Tsukasa might discover him. Now, if Tsukasa discovers him, obviously he's probably going to figure out where he came from, and he's going to ask the question, what happened, etc. And the man will probably say, there was a fight and all that, I killed a sorcerer, and, you know, they didn't like that, etc., and so I was exiled. And as soon as, you know, he hears that from the man, like he killed a sorcerer, he's probably going to ask, who was this sorcerer? And he's probably going to name that it was like, you know, Gin, but then Gin's going to be there, and it's probably going to cause a lot of complications. But it's not just that, though. He might also reveal that Chrome is there, and if he reveals that Chrome is there, then obviously Tsukasa is going to want to silence Chrome. So there is a lot of things to look at here, because when you think about it, the reason why Magma attacked Gin in the first place was because he thought Gin was someone that was the sorcerer, aka Senku. But now that he thinks the dude is dead, then even if he thought it was Senku, he's like, he's dead now. So because of that, you know, Chrome is the only one that's necessarily in danger if the dude is exiled. So that's the point I'm getting at is that exiling the guy is probably the biggest danger to the group, if that does happen, and that does seem like that is going to happen. Now, there is a possibility, even if that information is given out, I highly doubt Tsukasa as an individual would keep someone like Magma around, and let me explain why. When you look at Magma's character, he's a perfect representation of a very man that is what Tsukasa hates. He hates tainted individuals, people that want everything for themselves, kind of like a dictator. And when you look at Magma's character, he definitely seems kind of like a primitive dictator. Someone that'll take control of a tribe and lead it down a path of war and destruction. That's exactly what it looks like. So, I definitely see Tsukasa really not liking him as a character. Maybe getting information, but not trusting him, and probably even getting rid of him or exiling him, just as the other primitive village did. So yeah, that's kind of the things I kind of want to discuss about. Now, anything else? I guess one other big detail, too, is that within this episode, Senku, he had to make a very flimsy promise with Gin. He's like, I have to make a cold Coca-Cola, a soda, for the man. And once again, it's something that we also take for granted in today's society. It's probably very simplistic to make soda and all that, you know, carbonated water, soda, whatever. You know, it's not probably that difficult. But even then, for primitive times, making something like that is relatively hard, and it seems like it isn't something relatively that important to the grand scheme of things that's out there. But at the same time, though, it does demonstrate that something like that does need to be invented, because common pleasures, for instance, being able to enjoy, let's say, a soda, or being able to eat some good food, is very important in a modern day society. So Senku needs to do it regardless, so if he can master that, he could give people something to drink, to really enjoy, and also something they never had before, all the primitives and stuff in the village. So there's just a lot of good things that are being set up. But I think that's about it, though. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.